It is the ultimate boy toy. Brute power, awesome speed, sleek styling, the trademarks of a Magnum boat. At nearly 3,000 horsepower and top speed at 70 miles an hour, this is possibly the most exciting boat ride imaginable. But it's more than sheer muscle that drives the company. In this male-dominated business of high-performance boats, Magnum Marine is navigated by a woman.
I think maybe we have a little advantage as a woman. Practically all my clients are men. The vendors, the people we deal with, are all men. And men tend to be very gallant and charming with women. So I think it's wonderful. I couldn't imagine anything better.
Katrin Theodoli took the helm after her husband of 19 years died tragically in 1990. The industry didn't give her a whiff of a chance, arguing the powerboat business is a man's world. Katrin persevered, and today she is considered the First Lady of Thunderboat Row. Magnum boats are sold for cash only. They range from $100,000 for a 27-footer to over $5 million for the new 90-foot super yacht powered by a 7,000 horsepower gas turbine engine.
When we started 20 years ago with this concept, to build a boat that could be as fast as a race boat, but as comfortable as a luxury boat, with all the accommodations that you could want, it was a novelty, and still today it's a novelty.
So it's beautiful to be out. It makes you feel like, you know, $1 million.
Although she grew up in landlocked Switzerland, Katrin Theodoli has long been a boating enthusiast. She always conducts sea trials for new boats herself. And she has a reason to be proud. Owners range from European royalty to the Emir of Kuwait. But Magnum Marine is more than just a status symbol. It has delivered Magnums to the U.S. Coast Guard, Customs, and police departments. And in a development with McDonnell Douglas, Magnum supplied a 40-foot prototype to be converted for the U.S. Special Operations Command.
I think we have the passion and we have the teamwork, and everybody that's here really has only one goal in mind: to make the best boat in the world.
So how did this petite woman take on the boys of the macho boat biz and beat them? Katrin Theodoli, the CEO of Magnum Marine, next on Pinnacle. In both 1986 and 1987, Magnum boats won the prestigious Miami-Nassau-Miami Sea Race, the longest powerboat race in the world. With a standard production boat, Magnum competed against offshore race boats. But in the end, it wasn't speed that proved victorious.
I don't build the boat because it's the fastest boat in the world. I build a boat which I want to be the best, but the best, safest boat in the world, and the most seaworthiest boat. That comes for me first before everything else. And I think maybe it's because I'm a woman, and you think, you know, safety and coming home is more important than the top speed.
Was there a particular event that surprised you about the boat's seaworthiness?
I think it surprises me every time. We just came back from the Bahamas, and there were gale force winds, force 7. And we came back and we really didn't notice it. It was just absolutely remarkable. I'm impressed myself by it, and everyone was saying in the Bahamas, well, you can't go today. I mean, nobody's out there, not even the fishermen are out there. And we took off, and it was really a very comfortable ride. The boats are unbelievable.
Has there ever been an incident with any of your boats after they've left the shop that has tested it, or an accident?
Just recently, this client of ours ran into a submerged oil barrel, full speed coming in, and the next day he came to Magnum and said, Katrin, we're alive thanks to you. If I had been on any other boat, we wouldn't be here.
It takes about 6 weeks to build a hull like this, but once you have it, and you also can feel how heavy it is, if you end up on a rock or reef, you won't have a scratch on your boat. This is the strongest, heaviest hull that any boat company builds.
Magnum's record speaks for itself. Every boat Magnum Marine has built over the past 20 years is still on the water.
Now, Bob, what I really want to do, here we have the foam stringers, right?
Correct.
Now, what I'd really like to do on this 50, the same sides in Nomex like we did on the other 50.
All of Magnum's boats are custom made. The company hand builds 10 to 20 boats a year. Clients need to pay a 30% deposit in cash before a new boat is even conceptualized. What about the interiors? I understand that some of them are designer interiors.
All of them are designer interiors. And a 70-footer, for example, has 3 double bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a galley, a huge living room. Most of the interiors are done in Italy, and each client really decides what they would like.
For the Magnum 50, the interior was designed by the French house of Hermes. The deck of some boats are done by Pininfarina, who is known for working with Ferrari. The V-shaped hull is drafted by Magnum Marine.
Do you have any preference? Would you like it in gold, or would you prefer it in lucite? It doesn't matter. What do you prefer? Lucite.
But despite Magnum's international status, Magnum Marine is not as well known in the United States.
In Europe and also in the Middle East, people really enjoy boating and going long distances, and you need a very seaworthy boat to go from the mainland to Corsica to Sardinia. You have a lot of open seas, and therefore there is that desire for a very solid, safe, fast boat.
It seems like it's almost a cult following. Who are some of your clients?
Well, we have probably most of the people who adore boating and high-performance boating and who can afford such a boat, like the King of Spain, of course, who's a client for many, many years, and the King of Sweden bought a Magnum, and many sheikhs and emirs.
What did you do the first time you answered the phone and it was the King of Spain calling?
It's even funnier what my secretary did, because when he said this is the King of Spain calling, she was going to say, well, you must be kidding me. I'm the queen of something.
Yes.
She just couldn't believe it. And then, of course, by the time the phone call got to me, I didn't know who it was.
This is really a service-oriented thing. You just don't sell them a boat and they disappear. You develop relationships with your customers, don't you?
Yes, I think they all become friends. This board tries to keep our production line going so we know what we're building when and for whom and who we built the boats for. So some of the names you might recognize.
Other prominent clients of Magnum Marine include the Crown Prince of Qatar, Italy's Agnelli family, international financier Adnan Khashoggi, and Danish pianist Victor Borge, who visited Magnum the day of our shoot.
Let's get on here. I'll give you a hand. My favorite is usually the last one I built. I always build each boat for myself. Or, you know, my question is, what would I really want to have? And then I build it.
More with Magnum Marine when Pinnacle continues. powerboats and pretty women often go hand in hand. Katrin Theodoli agrees.
Men who love beautiful boats, fast cars, also love beautiful women. One does call boats a she. And some women are rather jealous about their husband's boats. And they feel that the husband spends too much time with the boat rather than with a wife or with a friend. But they are rivals in a certain sense.
Everett, did you finish the offer for the patrol boats that we were working on yesterday?
There's a few items left. They want some infrared video equipment.
The daughter of a wealthy Swiss industrialist, Katrin was brought up in boarding schools in Switzerland and the United States. There's a funny story that you tell about being at the University of Bologna.
Yeah.
This was after you had studied how many different subjects?
Oh, I'm ashamed to say.
Well, there's nothing wrong with education.
I think I exaggerated it. I just loved studying so much.
Where did your courses take you from what to
I
what?
studied language and literature and French and German and English, and then I studied history and archaeology, and so I did an MA in languages and literature, and then I did a PhD in history, and then I was studying medicine, and I think my father got a little upset with me and said, well, do you really intend to become a doctor? And I said, well, I don't really know. That's it.
That's it, he cut you off?
Now you got to work. And so I worked for my father, and that took me to Italy, and that's where I met my husband.
Katrin became involved with boats when she met a young Italian Marquese, Filippo Theodoli, who ran Magnum's European dealership.
He was a friend of friends of mine, and they said, you know, Filippo's here, and he's got a Magnum, and you want to go out on the boat.
Did you know what a Magnum was?
I had no idea. And I came from Switzerland, so I didn't know very much about boats. And so I said, of course, I'd love to go. That's when I met my husband. That's when I met Magnum. That's when I fell in love with both. And my career changed radically.
Filippo and Katrin were married in 1971. 5 years later, they bought Magnum for $1.5 million from legend Don Arano, the pioneer of speedboats.
One day we were at dinner, and he said, why don't we buy Magnum? Because what I really think we should be doing is selling or building big, high-performance yachts. No one out there is building the kind of boat that I think would be successful. People want a very comfortable boat. People want all the luxuries of a big yacht, but they want to be able to drive a boat themselves. They don't want to go out with captains and crews.
He really had the idea that there was this niche market out there that wasn't being sold.
That kind of boat simply didn't exist. And even in Europe, where the islands of Sardinia and Corsica are about 100 miles or so offshore, nobody could really go there except if you had a big yacht and crew. When we brought Magnum, this was a boat that a family could take, and it opened a completely new horizon and a new, I would say, even a tourist industry which didn't exist before.
The economies, we've had ups and downs, bad times. A few years ago, they came out with a luxury tax bill that pretty much annihilated the boating industry altogether. What did that do to Magnum?
Well, luckily nothing really, because I think we have a very small production and a niche market.
Clients that aren't affected by the vagaries of the market or the economy.
Right, and you know, sometimes you have a recession in one country but not in the other, and I think that the type of clients that we sell boats to luckily can afford this boat, and we'll always pay for the best.
Do you even have to market the boat? Do you have to sell it? Do you have any salesmen on your force?
No, we don't have salesmen, and we really don't do any advertising either. It's usually word of mouth.
And now they come to you. Because if the King of Spain has a Magnum, he's got a lot of friends with a lot of money.
Well, I hope so.
The 53-footer turned out to be one of the most successful Magnums ever, and its clientele demanded even bigger boats, the 63, the 71, the 80. While Filippo was the front man, Katrin supported her husband and saw to the details.
I didn't feel second to him, but I felt that really that was my role as his wife and his partner.
Tragedy struck in the late 1980s when Filippo was diagnosed with cancer. After 2 years, doctors attempted a liver transplant. It was a losing battle.
He was a very strong man. I leaned on him very much. And, you know, he didn't believe in little things like, it's my birthday, wedding anniversary, that was dinner. But when I needed him, when I was, I don't know, really sick or something like that, then he stood by me, but in full force. And he kept telling me that I was the woman of his life and he loved me till the day he died. And, you know, that strength that gives you is just absolutely wonderful.
More when Pinnacle continues.
Even on the day that he died, it never occurred to me that he could die. I never thought something like that would happen to me. And therefore, I had always included him in my future and in my thoughts.
After Filippo passed away, Katrin Theodoli was faced with new challenges. First, she had to overcome her husband's death, and then there was Magnum. A few years ago, and I know this is painful, but it's how you became in charge of the company, really.
When he died, I continued, but I was in a vacuum. And whenever I faced a problem, I always said to myself, well, what would he have done in this situation? And it took about 2 years until my feet touched the ground again. And at that point, I asked myself, well, what would I really want to do? And it's then really that Magnum Marine changed a bit and changed direction. There was a point when I asked myself, should I or shouldn't I? And the reason I did continue is obviously I have a passion and a love for what I do. And I felt also a great responsibility for the team that we created at Magnum. Well, actually, there was a third reason. You know, everybody was saying, well, a woman can never do this. You're the only woman in a macho man's field, and 10 cents on the dollar in a year, you're gone. You know? And of course, that bugged me. We'll show them. We'll be here next year. And so all that inspired me to go on.
How did you get through those first few days?
Filippo died in September. And in October, we had the Genoa Boat Show, which is the biggest show in the world, and I knew I had to be present, and I knew that everybody was looking at me. And as I told you before, everybody said, well, she can't run this. This is going to be a disaster. So I knew I had to go. If I wanted to survive, I had to go.
Was there any pullback in the company at all? Did it just keep on going with the orders and all? Was there any hesitation?
Strangely enough, no. I was quite amazed. I thought there would be, but there wasn't, and I'm very happy about that.
One of the first things you did when you were getting back on your feet was you went out and you learned how to drive the Magnum.
Right.
that you really had never had to do that before, had
Absolutely.
never done it. What was that like the first time you took the helm?
Well, I did it in secret.
You did?
I was very embarrassed. I said, here I am running this macho boat company. I don't know how to drive the boats. And a friend of mine said, well, I'll teach you. And so I did, and so I spent a Saturday and a Sunday docking and maneuvering the boat in absolute secrecy. And of course I learned, but I was embarrassed.
Katrin now took full charge of the company and started to develop her own ideas.
I created the first boat that I myself built, which is Bestia, which is the 50-footer that I first built for myself and then I sold to His Majesty, the King of Spain, and which has an incredible success. And we designed it together with the designer, and I said, you know, I want an aggressive boat. I want a mean boat.
The photographer was making the first photo session of the boat by helicopter. So I knew that the faster I was going to go, the better the pictures. We were doing 72 miles an hour. It was the most amazing thing, and you didn't feel it. You know, she just buckles down and slices through the water, and there were horrendous waves, incredible seas. And when I came back, the helicopter was waiting for me, and he said, you know, Katrin, this is incredible. I've never seen a boat tack that way in rough seas. It's absolutely unbelievable. And he said, you know, this isn't a boat. This is an animal. And I said, that's a beast. And that's why she's called Bestia.
Hey, beautiful. One more air.
Recently, Katrin celebrated her 20th anniversary as owner of Magnum. It was also a perfect day to christen the new 56-footer.
The progress that Katrin has made is phenomenal. I hope she continues. I hope I'm alive a few more years to see the 90.
Where do you want the company to be, and where do you want to be in, say, 5, 10 years from now?
I still want to be building the very best boats in the world, and that's really what I want to do. I want you to ask me in 10 years, and you could say, yeah, she's still the best. I think that's where I'd like to be.
What do you regard as the biggest personal satisfaction in your life?
I don't really know. I haven't gotten there yet, I think. I'm working on it. But I would like to be able to make a difference. And for the time being, I'm going through a learning experience. One of my favorite poems since I was a little girl is this Greek poem, I don't know if you know it, Ithaca from Kavafis, which says that the world is a road, and the longer the road and the harder the road, the more you learn. And I'm on this road with my backpack, and I'm learning, and I enjoy the fact that I'm learning, and hopefully, maybe in 10 or 20 years, you know, I will able to say this is really the way it should be done, and this will make life easier for you. And if I'm successful in doing that, I think that will have made it all worthwhile.
For a transcript of Pinnacle and many other CNN programs, please call Journal Graphics at 1-800-CNN-NEWS.
For a multimedia look at today's business news, check out CNN-FN on the World Wide Web at cnnfn.com. You can access our site through the AT&T Business Network.